What is up, and welcome back to Beyond the Arc with Brandon Silvers. As always, I am your host, Brandon Silvers. Extra special one today, doing something a little bit different. My guest has been on before, and y'all are always like, hey, we love this dude, but he's a part of one of the wildest events in sports history, and y'all haven't really gotten into it yet. So today, we are going to get into the Malice at the Palace with David Harrison. David, how's it going, man?
Doing good. Thanks for having me back. It's going to be interesting. Came across a basic live recording of the event. Like actual recording, like on a VCR. It's the funny thing to me. But,
old school.
But this is the first time. I mean, kind of one of the first times I've seen this broadcast. I've seen like the internal cameras and all that other stuff. But, it's kind of interesting because you never really know how you look through other people's eyes. And this is how I would say 99.9% of the world, perceive the entire event.
Yeah. So for the audio listeners, you're still going to get good stuff out of this, but you might want to head on over to Beyond the Arc with Brandon Silvers on YouTube. Or if you've got Spotify, check it out. The video version will be there. But before we get into the actual video, kind of set the stage for us, David, in terms of, well, first of all, how early into your NBA career was this? This took place November 19th, 2004. Mm-hmm. Were you a grizzled vet at this point?
I was a grizzled. I was barely even a rookie. I think it's my total. I think we were 7-2 at that point. So game number 9 in my entire NBA career. Yeah, me and John Edwards.
That's a hell of a welcome to the league. And we were talking before we got on about kind of the rivalry between the two teams before this even took place, because I mean, obviously we're going to talk about everything that went on with the crowd, but it originally started with as we'll see, a Ron Artest, Ben Wallace beef. What kind of played into that happening? Was that something that just came about spur of the moment in the game, or had there been some lead up to that where you thought something might pop off between those two?
Well, like I said, for me, this was like kind of like a new experience. Like I'm walking into this. The history that I knew, like because this is what Rick spoke about a lot was, the year before, the Pacers pretty much being one layup away from the finals, potentially winning it. And for Rick, people don't really realize that the year before they won it, Rick was their head coach. They got rid of Rick, brought in Larry Brown. Rick went to Indiana. Then the Pistons won, and there's that part of the rivalry there, And then you have the interconnectedness of those two teams, the Pacers and the Pistons. Historically, our fan base, they love the Pacers. Their fan base, you can obviously see they love the Pistons. So, it was just, all of that, build up. Isaiah's interconnectedness between the two franchises. This was like basically cousins, you know what I mean? Like out there playing a game and things just got a little hot. But, with Ron and Ben, there's also the rivalry of Defensive Player of the Year. I think Ben won it. I think Ron won it, then Ben won it. And then this year, honestly, that year, if Ron would have been able to play that full season, he might have won MVP.
Yeah.
Not just defensive MVP, but MVP. But at the same time, you had all that, going. Another thing, the first time 2 Colorado players ever played a basketball game in the NBA together, me and Chauncey Billups. And this is the end result. We're supposed to do a jersey swap after the game. It didn't happen.
Yeah, what happened?
There wasn't enough time afterwards. We kind of had to get out of there.
Fair enough.
See in the video, they were trying to mace Ron. So,
there's a lot going on. That would have been crazy if y'all still held to
the little
in the middle of everything. So, let's go ahead and get into the video. I'm going to put on my producer hat today. So if there are any issues, viewers, I do apologize because this is, like I said, this is new. All right, David, can you see?
Yeah, it's just, like I said, you see the recording from the actual like VHS tape it was recorded on. That's insane.
Yes. So we
It
will
dates you a
back
bit.
it up.
Peacemaker got Jackson yelling.
A little pushing and shoving, 15-point game. There was 46 seconds left. Almost made it.
Challenging Derek Coleman. Somebody should just get Jackson out of there. That's what causes the problem. Rasheed Wallace did an excellent job trying to keep everybody away.
Peacemaker Rasheed Wallace. Then there we go. Here's Ron laying on the scorer's table.
You see Reggie right there rubbing on, man. It's all good. It's all good. Look, everything is done. And then Ben throws this thing around. Kevin O'Neal holding back Eddie Gill. That's funny. I'm sorry, Jamal.
See the foul again because it appeared Wallace was past him in our test shove.
Weber State's own Eddie Gill, I believe. Okay, here's the replay of what happened.
That's not that hard of a foul.
That is
Walton, not that hard of a foul.
Not that hard. And Ben Wallace can't react that way. Wallace is still charged up. Now, Wallace.
All right, here we got Ron again on the scorer's table. I'll stop it real quick, pause it real quick. Bill Walton said it wasn't that hard of a foul. Didn't look that hard of a foul to me. NBA guys such as yourself, was that a hard foul that Ron put on Ben?
It was a hard foul because, it was an intentional foul.
Yeah.
I think there's footage of Jack Steven talking about the whole exchange. One, they should have been subbed out of the game. They shouldn't have been in the game.
That's a good point. Yeah.
But Jamal. So I think Ben elbowed Ron or got Ron, like just got one over on Ron, and Jamal says to Ron, the two New York boys, Ron, I remember because Jamal said, I just told Dunny to get him, but he basically was just like, I told Dunny, he was like, Dunny, you can get your foul back. That's what he said to Ron. And so Steven overhears this. And so Steven rushes down and takes Ben. You see the play. Steven's just like, bump, bump. Okay, do what you do, Ben. Game over, Ron comes over and fouls him. I 100% agree that wasn't a hard foul. But, like I said, all the emotions and everything else behind it, the reality behind it, it wasn't a hard foul. It was intentional. It truly was.
Yeah.
He knew it was. Everybody knew it was going to happen.
Maybe it goes a little differently if it's like not a 15-point game with less than a minute. It's like the second quarter.
Mm-hmm.
And, the Pistons aren't about to lose. Maybe it's doesn't turn quite into this.
I think that if you go through this whole game, it was physical. It was a physical game. I think at any point throughout this game, it was just a powder keg. I think anybody could have gone off. One of my favorite players growing up, another one was Rasheed Wallace. Philly, he was the dude. He was the first true stretch four, in my opinion.
Yeah.
He was a revolutionary level player, and he was funny as hell. And that's the thing. We're sitting around before the game, and the teams knew each other so much. We're all meeting up. Everybody's like friends. You know what I mean? And then this.
Yeah. Mr. Ball don't lie. Rasheed Wallace. All right, I will start it back up again, and we will see what happens next.
They need to somehow find a way to get this game over with as quickly as possible.
Well, I tell you what, they sure did. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll point this out. Your back is to us, correct?
Yes, that is me.
Right there on the left.
Yes.
The biggest person on the screen by far.
Campbell was out there. He was big. But I was probably one of the bigger people in the whole area, that's for sure.
So, yeah, they definitely... Yeah, this is... When you get the big dudes out there trying to... Were you there peacemaking or fighting originally at this point?
I was peacemaking. Legitimately, you'll see in this little clip, Steven's in front of me, and he starts going forward, and you see me grab his jersey. I'm like, no. You know what I mean? Like, stay back here. Like, because if they come over here, it's us. You go over there, like, it's just you. So let's just stay over here.
Some simple math on the situation.
Yeah, you saw me try to grab him again.
Okay, so here's the fun. I'll see if I can rewind it some. This is when the infamous toss happened, and at this point, what of the toss did you see?
What I saw was legitimately. I'm still looking at the Pistons and everybody over there. Steven's in front of me, and you see a plume, like a flash, and then Steven goes. Like, I grabbed him that time, but then on this, you're going to see I'm not going to be able to get him. Like, I reached for him, I couldn't get him. But you just see the plume, and I just saw this Jack, and I went to grab him, and I couldn't get him, and that's when I ran in the crowd.
Yeah, and we talked about this throw when we were preparing for this. Like we compared it to the water bottle challenge, just the way this was thrown, because it wasn't like there's no way it was an overhand toss. It had to be like an underhand, straight up and down type deal, and hit him square in the chest. It looked like like his face.
Yes, like right in his face, and that's the thing. People like normally you throw a cup. You know, I've said this to you 1,000 times. The liquid inside flies out, and the cup dissipates, and you miss. Some of the water might end up going the direction you're throwing it, but the cup, you know, and then if it does hit you, it's a light cup at that point. You know, this was launched from distance it looked pretty full. They're elevated too.
Yeah.
You know? And then, you know, straight down, directly in your face. That's a 1 in 100. That throw is rarer than this event, in my opinion.
Yeah, it was a hell of a toss. So here we got people on screen. So the guy in the blue is the true thrower, correct?
Yes.
And he very wisely looks a little bit like Stone Cold Steve Austin here, but has his hands in his pockets as though he did not throw anything.
Yeah.
Here's Ron
charging. The guy to the right is the guy he was super drunk, and I think they made a bet. I think the dude in the white bet the guy in the blue he couldn't throw the cup and hit Ron. And I think after it hit him, the guy in the white starts celebrating, and that's who Ron saw. And you see the guy in the blue is just like, I'm just going to stay still.
Let's see how that's...
Like in Jurassic Park when the T-Rex is there, you're supposed to stay still.
Yep, he's not going to move. We'll see how this turns out for everybody. Ron, wrong guy. But here we go. All right, Mr. Cup Thrower tries to help. Now here comes some more beer. Steven Jackson.
And there's me right there. I literally threw myself in between Steven and the guy. Because the dude who Steven punched, he wanted nothing else. He was done for the day. He was like, I came here, I'm full. I just want to pay my bill and leave.
Understandable. So this is you on the right, correct? With the warm-up jersey on. Then we got Rashid coming in too. Mm-hmm. At this point, what is going through your head? Because a lot has happened in a little bit of time.
What's going through my head is right now, because you see kind of like a pile on Ron, and I don't want to be pushed on him or pushed over there. So, like, you see me trying to pull Steven back and out. So I'm just trying to, like, find space and get out, back and out. I think I even jumped back after this. That little clip, and like one of the security guards said something to me, and I'm like, "What are you yelling at me for? I'm trying to stop this." But yeah.
Let's see. So looks like, and now this is chaos. Let's see what they're talking about here.
Fans and players are going at it. The players trying to help each other out. This is a disgrace.
Wow. So that's why I grabbed Jack, and I was just like, "We got to go," because like I said, there was a big pile forming on Ron. And like it was just like it's like I can't help Ron, you know, and I couldn't help Ron, but I could grab Steven and hopefully somebody else is helping Ron.
So what are we see a lot of the Pistons
rewind it
players
right there? You'll see like I was at that point I was seeing everything, like almost like I was watching this video. But if you rewind it before I jump over the thing, you'll see the whole crowd still looking at this part, like after the fact, like no, way after this. No,
well,
before he gets the hug.
The YouTube controls.
Yeah, you can just run it from there. But like you'll see, like after all this, like you'll see me see those. Like I'm about to grab Steven.
There you are again. Yep, you got him.
And so like so I'm Steven's like punching back and stuff. I'm like Jack, it's me,
it's me.
So no, I have Steven, right, and everything's, you know, in my opinion, everything was kind of calming down. But look, I see, I literally see those guys charging at Ron at that point, and that's when I yell, "What the fuck y'all doing?" And that's
we do see there's a great look of concern on your face in this part that I've paused it at, where you're like something's going on.
People were just charging at this point, you know.
Is that a kid on someone's shoulders right here?
And there's a dude holding his beer still back there behind that kid, you know, in the white shirt, you know?
Yeah, he's observing too. This is like one of those like Renaissance paintings.
But so I get off, and Rick Mahorn tries to grab me. I'm gone, but I'm going after the guys who are going after Ron at this point.
We just saw you take off to the left, I believe, to go help. I think on the bottom left corner, someone is holding your warm-up. Is that you?
I didn't even feel that guy.
Yeah, he's not. He doesn't look very formidable.
He's got a good toad behind me a bit.
Yeah. Yep, there you go. Whew. And here's Ron.
Okay, so have you seen security at all? Zero, right?
Not at all.
Okay, the first time you see security, look what they do. Look what they do. The first official uniform you see.
Rip Hamilton, old Larry Brown there. Yeah, still no security.
That's our
Ron
security, the ball guy. That's Mike Brown.
Okay. Austin Crozier has Ron. Reggie's there in a suit.
So Reggie tells me now. So now Reggie tells me, go get Jermaine. And I'm like, I just want to get the fuck out of here. I'm just like,
go home.
Go get Jermaine. But Reggie tells me, go get Jermaine right now.
And I want to point out a little guest appearance we have. The referee, number 21. Tell the people who that is.
Oh, Mr. Donahue.
Tim Donahue.
Oh, man. I had some bets last night, literally one bucket away. And I was like, that looks like some Donahue action.
All right, I still don't think I've seen security. Crozier with the long jersey. Okay. That's right, Jack, too. This was the early 2000s, in case y'all were unclear. Is that Chuck Person with Ron?
That's Chuck Person. Steven's just strolling at this point. He's like, yeah, go on, bring it on.
So this right here, where they're clearly like covering his face to protect him, but it very much is giving me like Hannibal Lecter vibes.
The thing is, he's calm right now. If something hits him, and you know what I mean, like he would be the biggest. I'd have a problem bringing Ron down.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, I mean, it's just like he's calm in every sense. He's just trying to make him as calm as he possibly can.
Yeah,
you know, but like you see that, like we're literally covering each other's bodies. You know,
and there you are with Jermaine.
So this is when it happens. This is when a guy decides to throw a beer in Jermaine's face and then start patting his pockets. I'm glad they cut away. Ooh. Right there, that guy.
You run that back again. So if you're watching on YouTube, it's going to be on the right of the screen. Boom.
So what happens after that is he throws the beer. I see the dude. And everybody's like turning to now stop Jermaine from getting at him. And this is like I can sit here and like say that this interaction from this guy, it felt like an hour of us looking at each other, but it was seconds. I look at him, he starts packing his pockets. And I look at him again. I go, don't do it. And that's when he looked back down. And I was like, good night.
Yeah.
It's better to be judged by 12 than carried by 6. And at that
Every
moment,
time.
it was at that point, it was bad. That chair that came in, it flew down and hit me in the freaking head. But there's this whole situation right there. On the broadcast, they're like, "Oh, an old lady," and all this other stuff. It wasn't an old lady; it was an old man. But it's just like that whole interaction, that whole exchange is just I was so close to being out of there. And I still remember Reggie, go get Jermaine. I'm like, why? I'm so close.
So I'll play this with the volume up so we can hear some of what the announcers are saying as well. But it is crazy how clearly it was a terrible situation because they're throwing everything at y'all. But then when they cut away from Jermaine right after the beer is thrown to when they cut back, you can see that everything has gone from, it was probably already at a 10 to like a 20.
Yeah.
So let's see this again. Very peaceful. You're almost at freedom.
Pistons fans here. Just firing bottles from the stands.
Right together, baby.
All gone back.
Just madness. And they got Larry Brown trying to address the crowd at this point. Like that's going to do anything.
You see how everyone's being thrown and flying back? That's me.
Man.
And then you have Scott Pollard who's basically walking the ball.
Yeah, this is probably the most normal I remember seeing Scott Pollard. Because I didn't even know it was him the first couple of times I watched it because he's just a guy in a suit.
It really looks like he's in a Walmart crowd on Black Friday. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's like,
right, I really hope that toaster's still there.
You gotta go get the DVD players. All right, yeah, this is crazy.
I think that guy just said that. There's AJ, Anthony Johnson.
Anthony Johnson. I always talk about this. Charleston legend. I went through his basketball camps. This was crazy for me because of the Charleston connection. This is a guy who, like I said, I grew up going to his camps, and then he's in the middle of this, which is not
6 games. I think he got suspended 6 games for this.
Yes. And I believe he had like a broken wrist or something at this point.
Him and Reggie both had broken hands. They both got suspended.
Jeez. Scott Pollard with the very 2000s era suit and his infamous sideburns.
Yeah.
Jermaine O'Neal, Columbia guy.
Yep.
Let's see what they're saying.
This was the right call. The outcome obviously is over. And players.
There's Chauncey there, bottom right, looking for the jersey swap from you.
Maybe he was waiting for the jersey swap. He was like,
he's like, David will come back. It'll calm down.
Head back to the locker room. We're going to go back through the entire situation from start to finish and slow things down for you. Here's how it happened. 45.9 seconds.
So at this point, y'all have made it to the locker room. I'm going to skip ahead to some of the commentary we get, but tell me in the locker room, what are the vibes at that point?
Okay.
So yeah, we're getting some good stuff too.
So like that last scene when you saw like Jamal comes by, Scott's still trying to get Jermaine in. And everybody's just piling. I was one of the last people in, from my memory. And everyone is, at this point, standing in the locker. And then finally Rick gets in there. And that's when our security started holding back the door. But Rick and the coaches go, like, that locker room, it's different. I think they blew that whole building up. But that locker room, had this like little off section, and it had its own little bathroom and stuff, and like little coaching changing area, and like that's where like the coaches were. They were in the whole area because you can hear them in the bathroom. And we were out there, and Jermaine is pissed. Jermaine is so fucking angry, and he's just sitting there. And Ron comes in. You saw his jerseys all tore up and stuff.
Yeah.
And he's just walking around like he goes, "My bad, guys. My bad. My bad." He goes, and he goes, "Man," "I just didn't know that we had so many live niggas in the same spot." And that's when I looked at. I was like, "What is going on?" And then Steven is now like, "What's going on?" And Ron goes, "Hey, do you think that we're going to get fined?" And AJ looks at Jack, goes, "Fine? Fuck, Ron, we're going to get suspended." And AJ goes, "Yeah, Ron, we're going to be suspended." And Ron started going, "Oh no, I don't want to be suspended. Oh no, I don't want it." Like walking around and I'm at this point like, what the fuck? And that's when Rick walks in, and Jermaine was pissed, and Rick starts saying something. Jermaine starts saying something back like, "If we're fighting, y'all don't fight against us, y'all fight with us." And Rick said something like, "Hey, fuck you, Jermaine," or something like that. And then so those two stand up, and at that point everyone's looking at me to break this up. I don't know, but Mike Brown jumped in between them. I still remember this. And he was like, "What do you mean, Jermaine? We were fighting with you. I got a lip. Look at my lip," like that. And it was everybody else in there is bleeding and stuff. You know what I mean? He even had a mark. And everybody, I think somebody goes, "Man, ain't nobody give a shit about your boo-boo." Something like that. And everybody just started laughing for a second, just a second. And then the beating on the door kept on happening. Reality, came back in. Finally we negotiated our exit. We got on our bus, hopped on the plane. One of the coolest things, where I wish, it would have been today. Think about how many different camera views of this we'd have today.
Ooh. But
when we landed, I'd say there was 1,000 Pacer fans at the airport just cheering us on. That was the coolest part of the whole thing. That was a good fan. That fan base is special. They truly are.
Yeah, they love hoops out there. Yeah, when you talk about the camera views, the first thing my mind goes to is the Montgomery, the boat with the folding chair that went viral. We would have had all those different. We could have pieced it all together. But okay, I'll pick up the video back from. We got Ron with the stretched out jersey, and then a Pistons fan has made his way onto the court again. Not too much security, and look at this. Oh gosh, I don't know what the guy's thinking.
So that was AJ. That's how AJ got in trouble.
Okay, you can see his shoes barely. Another thing about this clip that got me was that if you look at the left of the screen, I believe a stadium right here in red coming in is one of their stadium workers, I believe, has on a Pistons colored Ben Wallace wig, I think.
I don't think that's a stadium worker. I think it's a fan. I don't know.
Really? Okay, I hope so.
It could be. I don't know.
He's picking it up. It fell off his head. You see him right here holding it?
Yeah. I think he has like a microphone maybe in his back pocket. He could be. Yeah. I don't know. But, that guy, that's the guy where the point is. This is where if Jermaine didn't slip, I would have been the starting center for the Pacers. Because this guy would have been dead.
You see AJ getting pulled back right here, and then boom! Yeah. My thought here with the Jermaine thing is I thought he tore his ACL the way that he slid.
I would say this. One of the things about him was he had hyper looseness in his knees. I would say if you look at the arc of his career, it wasn't as injury it was as it was after this moment. I don't know if that slide did anything to his knee, but his knee was something that was always a recurring issue.
Yeah. Let's see. I just want to get the look of this punch again. Yep, they point out the guy. We see the Ben Wallace wig in the man's hands, and then boom!
Good night, Irene. Ooh. Good night, Irene. Yeah. And he's on down. I don't want any more. Yeah, that's the thing. Don't come down here. You're on the court. And then, then here comes, you see the ref get hit in the face with that water bottle. I was standing right next to that.
Man, that was about to be a hell of a thing. And I do want to pause it. Coming up at the old Sports Center scroll, I hope it's not in the way. You can see Texas PJ Tucker. So it feels like it was a million years away. Feels like it was a million years ago. PJ Tucker in college at Texas.
He's still in the league.
Still in the league, incredibly. Boy,
Damn.
yeah, Jermaine was about to be it.
Yeah, that would have been bad.
Oh, probably a good thing that didn't land clean.
Yes. Good for everyone. Good for the world.
Yeah.
Good for the world. But then you see the ref. I'm standing right there. He gets hit with that water bottle.
Water bottle in the head.
And that's when I said, what is going on? It was ridiculous.
And this is what you talked about earlier. Finally, someone who appears to be, is this a police officer?
Someone in an official uniform finally shows up. You have all this going on.
Let's see how they choose to help the situation. He is going to mace Ron Artest. He's shaking it up real good. But then we got Reggie. I'm like, wait, you can't mace him. That's ridiculous.
That's like the sad beauty of this. You see literally us throwing our bodies over each other. You know what I mean? Running in front. Like it was literally like Jack said it. We ride together.
Yeah. And now we're going to get a view of the chair.
No, this was a jersey or something.
Jersey, okay.
Yeah.
Because that's you in the top right.
Yeah.
And then something comes flying in at Jermaine, I believe. Ooh, okay. There it is, 9 games into your career.
Here we go.
Yes. Back to Ron being...
And that's Jack. We ride together. And I think here comes the chair.
Here comes the chair. That's right.
Yeah.
Really incredible that more people, including y'all, obviously, were not seriously hurt outside of Mike Brown's boo-boo and the scratches and everything.
I was bloody. I had cuts all over my legs, like cuts on my arms. So we had a game the next night, and I had to wear under my sock. I was bleeding. I bled through my sock from the cuts and stuff.
That is crazy. They had y'all play the next night after this.
And you played really well that game too.
Out a bunch of shit. Oh yeah, I bet y'all were ready to go.
No, I think I had like 19 or something in that game.
Now this is the wild part because they do show like a bunch of kids in the stands.
Yeah,
this guy's crying. This child's crying. That was the whole thing was wild. But this was the part where it's like, man, you hate to see that.
But look at the stats. Ron 24-5, Jermaine double 20 and 13. We didn't even have Reggie. We didn't have Jeff Foster. This game was a complete and utter domination of them.
Yeah.
And we were on a clip at this point. Those 2 games we lost, I think one of them we were messing around the night before. And then like another one, I don't even remember the other one we lost. I thought we actually were something and won at that point. But, you see next game, Saturday, the next day.
Yeah, because this was a Friday this happened. Saturday, playing Orlando. Darvin Ham appearance, too, 20 points.
Yeah, no, that was at home. So we played, they came to our place.
Okay.
Yeah. Now here's the introduction to Stephen A. Smithy. I think he's going to have his first comments here. Mike Brown. Oh, no, Larry Brown's.
Yeah, I think it's Larry, so I'll go ahead and cut the volume up.
Left the arena without making any comments. However, the 2 head coaches both spoke their minds.
Just never seen anything like that. I didn't know what to do myself personally. Try to control the players, but I've never seen it go in a situation like that. Maybe I've seen a hockey game once, but hey, I love fans to be involved and cheer, but to throw things and, that's not what our fans are like. And then
It's exactly what your fans are
players
like.
to act like that, to understand
did do it,
that.
Larry.
That's something I think we're all taught.
See, that whole thing.
Between the lines, a lot of things happen.
Ugh.
But there's no place for anybody. I saw the Indiana coaches making an unbelievable effort to help. I'm glad our team walked, because I was worried about Steven Jackson and Artest, as silly as they were acting. And, I saw some people take punches at them as well. And I told our team, we all should have gone in the stands to try to help and protect each other. But I don't know what you're going to do in a situation like that.
So that's a good point. So were the Pistons players in there helping y'all? Because I know they were in the crowd.
You just saw Rashid jump up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The thing is, at that point, it wasn't their problem. You know what I mean? I think I don't know. It could happen, but let's just say Ben was just so angry. Someone said something to Ben, and Ben snapped and went off up there. I wouldn't have went after Ben. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't have went after Ben. I would have been sitting there and be like, throw him out. Get him, go get him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But that was it was our problem. But you saw, Rick Mahorn was up there. You saw people go up there that weren't directly affiliated with us.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see what.
Because Rick brings it back to, we beat the shit out of them, but it was bad. But we beat the hell out of them tonight.
Yeah. Let's listen to Rick Carlisle now, your coach.
I'm rooting for so many.
Well, I've been around 20 years, and I've never seen or been involved in anything quite like this. I'm proud of the way our guys played. I thought we played a really determined, courageous game, and it's unfortunate that it ended the way it did. Our guys tried to show a lot of restraint, and then there were things being thrown at them. There were people that were coming out, and I understand we're attacking our players from the stand. So there were a lot of things going on. I felt like I was fighting for my life out there, but I'm sorry the game had to end this way. It was a great game up to that point.
The situation was largely over, and I think Ron was laying on the table, which unfortunately gives him easy access to roll over, when the fans get emotional and everything like that. I don't want to assess blame. All I can tell you is that when you go into the crowd, when anybody goes into the crowd, nothing good can happen, because you're suddenly surrounded by a sea of fans, some who want to just stop you and control you, some of whom want to hit you. And
this is Tom Wilson, CEO of the Pistons at the time, talking, if you're wondering why he seems to be trying to place blame, despite saying he wasn't going to.
And all of a sudden, you're surrounded by the enemy, and you just start swinging because you can't tell which is which. And that's why there's very strict rules against that. And you want your fans to be emotional. You just want them to draw a line as well.
NBA spokesperson Tim Frank said the league is withholding comment until it can review the incident. Pistons spokesperson Matt Dobek said the police investigation is ongoing, and that's it, refusing further comment. We'll show you how that investigation is ongoing shortly. We get more now from our guys who broadcast the game, and we're in the middle of it all. Mike Breen and Bill Walton.
Certainly one of the most ugliest incidents.
Do you want to go to the Stephen A. stuff?
Yeah, it's like Bill's like honestly, Bill. So later, Bill Walton came because he has some statements here, and he's talking about disgrace and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I think we were playing Philly, and he was commentating, and later he came up to me and was just like, all those comments I made, I wasn't speaking about you and all that other stuff. And I was just like, I didn't never even had an issue with it at all. But seeing it now and then remembering that moment, I was like, that's why. I was like, me and Bill had a very similar vibe. We like the same things, so.
Yeah. Okay. Well, here we go. A familiar face, Stephen A. Smith, coming up here.
Oh, yeah.
Where? Never shy about sharing his opinions.
Over the course of our time covering sports and playing sports, we all have agreed
that this is clearly the worst thing we have ever seen. It's one of those things that almost sounds like it's an out-of-body experience that you didn't really believe what you were watching. You had a chance to talk to Joe Dumars and have his reaction.
Yes, I did. As you know, earlier I spoke to Rick Carlisle. Now I spoke to Joe Dumars. He said it was a totally unacceptable situation. He's embarrassed and ashamed that it happened. But he also made it a point, interestingly enough, where he feels that everybody was accountable. Not just his players, not just the fans in the city of Detroit, but the Indiana Pacers as well. He felt everybody was involved. Nobody should be absolved from this situation whatsoever. And it's interesting because Rick Carlisle was saying he felt there was some provocation on the part of the Pistons. And now you're hearing Joe Dumars feels just as strongly on the side of the Pistons player.
So there he is. Hairline a little bit lower at the time, but basically you can see the Stephen A of today. You can see basically the gist of it there. He wasn't at that level back then. Clearly he's on the edge of the panel, as if you're watching the video. What are your thoughts about not only Stephen A's comments, but Joe Dumars' comments as well?
I mean, one, coming out of Stephen A's mouth, it is what it is. You know, you heard how he even framed it. I talked to Rick Carlisle, the Pistons. That's a coach. And I talked to Joe Dumars, who's in operations. That's two different perspectives that you're going to be getting here. One was there in the fight. Joe Dumars was probably in the building. You know. So, I mean, you're getting two different perspectives. And at the end of the day, I don't expect anybody from the Pistons to make this statement. But the statement is, if Ben Wallace calmed down and did not throw that object at Ron, would any of this have happened? You know, if after that petty foul, it was petty, Ben didn't go off didn't crash out, basically, would any of this have happened? No one wanted to start doing that. And it was all, oh, Ron's crazy. He's done crazy things in the past. It's easy to just blame it all on him.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what ended up happening.
Yeah, I think you're right, because it was a petty foul, and obviously time and score affects that as well. But we do see fouls like that pretty commonly, and the reaction from Ben, we don't see rarely ever. I guess the guy who comes to mind is a current Piston, Isaiah Stewart. He seems like he's always ready to go.
Well, the dude that LeBron split up.
Yeah.
You know?
So
is that him?
Yeah, that's him. So he's always ready to fight somebody. So that's really the only guy I can think of today who would do that. And it made me wonder, that's why I asked at the beginning, like, did Ben have a specific beef with Ron? Because it just seemed like such an outsized reaction. But it could have been, I mean, like you said, y'all were dominating them that night. We saw their record. I believe they were about 500 at the time. Probably not the start to the season they had wanted. Could have been a couple different things. But I was just taken aback because I feel like you didn't see Ben really do that too often.
No, and like I said in the beginning, I think it's a lot of the entire, like, all the emotions that are in it. You know, before that game, you know, Rick, like, basically we talked about that game for 2 games prior to this game. This was a huge game for the team, because you can argue that year we were one cup thrown into Ron's face away from a championship. You know, the year before they were one layup away from playing in the championship. So, you know, I mean, there was a lot there. And for the Pistons, the start that we had, I mean, I'm not saying that we could have broke, like, at that time it was the Bulls record, but we were on that type of clip, and we were playing that level of basketball, even with injuries. You know, I mean, you look at all the people in suits. You had Reggie, Jonathan Bender, Jeff Foster, Anthony Johnson. You have all of these players not even active, and we blew through the Pistons. And the next game, we almost beat the Orlando Magic with, I think, 6 total players. I mean, it's just like, you know, that team could have gone somewhere. And that's why I think the suspension ended up the way they did, because, I think you said, Max, what's his name?
Vernon Maxwell.
Yeah. He went in the crowd, body slammed somebody, and he got like 10, 15 games or something like that.
Yeah.
Now, if Ron and everyone got a suspension in that range, we still would have been able to probably win the championship that year.
Yeah, because just looking at Ron alone that season through his 7 games, 25 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, about 2 steals and a block, shooting 50% from the field, 41% from 3, 92% from the free throw line on like 7.5 free throws a game. Even if you take into consideration, like, okay, he might come down to earth a little bit, that's a monster season from the dude. Either way.
The thing is, that's the thing. How do you, like I said, Reggie wasn't even playing. So like bringing it back down to earth, we had a conundrum. Jermaine was a dominant post. He was a dominant player. Reggie was so those 3 out there, you kind of had to pick your poison. Who you would not guard to be Ron out of those 3. And Ron was out there, like you said, hitting at a 40% clip on the 3-point line, 50% from the floor. I mean, it's just like I said, earlier, he could have. That was an MVP. He could have had an MVP level season that year easily,
which would have given you 2 guys, because the previous year Jermaine had just finished top 3 in MVP voting.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, and that's not even talking about like you said, you got Steven Jackson. Reggie he wasn't even playing. Tinsley, who was incredible.
Yep.
We talked about AJ, who was a very solid backup point guard in the league for about a decade or so. Like, y'all had Austin Crozier. Yeah, Jeff Foster. That was a really good.
About James Jones. James Jones was on that team. We didn't even talk about that. James Jones was there. Fred Jones. I mean, it's just like James in the corner. It was. I still remember, like, on our games, I'd be like, yeah, James Jones is in the corner. Throw him the ball. Lights out. Like, the kid can't miss. I mean, him and Reggie, like, James Jones got put into the school of shooting from Reggie Miller. He learned how to shoot very well. And Freddie, I still remember the next game. We like, you guys have pretty just never ever played together. Let's just run some plays. And one of them was called Fist Down Freddie, because going to his right, Fred was unstoppable. So we'd go the middle screen and send Fred to his right, let him go to the rim, and I'd roll behind him. Like, Fist Down Freddie. That's the best play ever.
And he really stepped up that year too, because he'd gone from about 5 points a game the previous season to where he's kind of forced into action because of circumstances, bumped it up to almost 11 points a game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
People think
everyone
about
that
him
got that
mostly with
opportunity stepped up.
Yeah. So really cool how y'all came together. Was there any more comments you want to check out in the video?
I mean, some of those wonderful commercials.
Yeah, let's see the how dated things were. Let's see, because that was the funny thing. Yeah, because Stephen A. he was just going and going with his good friend Joe Dumars and everyone else.
The A stands for
okay. This is SportsCenter did a good thing about covering other fan altercations too, that I think is interesting.
A totally different situation. Guys are up to the stands. There's going to be a number of games. It's going to be hard for the league to sort all this out.
I agree with you absolutely. For the fans who came on the court, you deserve what you got, and the players should get a pass for that. A little bit later on, we'll have our final thoughts about this unbelievable story from Detroit. Steve, back to you.
John, thank you. Unfortunately, we've seen this before in varying degrees. In fact, September 13th of this year, Rangers reliever Frank Francisco hurled a chair into the stands in Oakland and hit that woman in the nose.
Jeez.
March 29th, 2001. Ty Domi in the water bottle squirts a fan. Fan falls into the penalty box. Years later, Domi actually settled the case by flying the fan to see a hockey game. May 16th, 2000. Several Dodgers followed catcher Chad Kruger into the stands at Wrigley after Kruger went into the stands to retrieve a stolen hat. Somebody swiped it right off his head. April 14th of 92, Rob Ray punching a 21-year-old on the ice in Quebec City after the man jumped onto the ice and challenged the entire Buffalo Sabres bench. And December 23rd, 1979, several Boston Bruins, Peter McNabb, Mike Milbury, Terry O'Reilly, battling Rangers fans up and over the glass at Madison Square Garden. Milbury actually pummeling a fan with his own shoe.
That is crazy.
More on Friday night's incident.
So we talked about this too, how most of those incidents were hockey, but there was some baseball as well.
Mm-hmm.
What impact could that maybe have had on the perception of this incident when you think about hockey, NHL, almost exclusively white sport, baseball, you got a little bit of a mix, but you think of it America's pastime.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got the NBA right in the thick of like the Allen Iverson era that probably kept David Stern up at night. And then this happens.
I mean, I would say, one, I don't know how they didn't have footage of Vernon Maxwell.
Yeah.
That should have been played because it would have set a precedent in the league. People always say the argument essentially is, fighting's allowed in hockey, but you can't fight fans. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then, in those instances, like even like when you heard the guy, like when the guy was on the ice and Richard, that's so crazy. That's so crazy seeing him. But when the guy was on the ice, and like a 21-year-old, like a grown man, you could call him a grown man, came on the ice and got his ass kicked. You know what I mean? It's always it was like kind of a narrative of fan friendly, and when the commentators at the end of it said, for the fans who came on the court, you got what you got, and all this other stuff, they could have kind of left it at that. But we won't have the footage. But I go to bed with this being in the ether, and I wake up with ESPN, like thugs,
Yes.
It was a complete LL. It was a completely different vibe.
Yeah, as you can see, these wonderful commercials with LL and Project Wave New York. I wonder what that could have been.
The scary thing is, it's like now with like all the Diddy stuff, you're just like, I don't even want to know what that.
Don't want to include it. Raymond Felton at North Carolina, a cover of Rashad McCants on Sports Illustrated, just to let you know how far long ago we're talking about. But you're right, because I had forgotten that the initial reaction, I'll stop sharing the screen right now so it's just us. I'd forgotten the initial reaction was really pro-Pacer.
I would say it was pro-player.
Player, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes. That's a better way to term it.
Yeah. Like it was, these fans kind of got out of control. Luckily, no one got hurt. Is basically was kind of like how I felt it. And then, as power as that be, it was because the thing is, I think they knew what they were doing to Ron the second he went in the crowd. You know what I mean? I think they knew it was going to be something extreme, and if the narrative would have stayed the way it is, people would have saw that suspension as an extreme one. I think even Jermaine appealed and sued, and they got his suspension reduced. And then we were playing so well. The original suspension was for the season, and then they clarified the postseason counts too. It's like, well, if you said the season, that was your original statement. But now that in your mind, you did this to cripple us, so we couldn't even make the playoffs. But now we're going to make the playoffs, and now you have a decision to make. And if you let us get Ron back, we might win this.
So here are a couple hypothetical questions for you. If that is James Jones who runs into the stands, is that a season and postseason suspension?
No. One, James is like one of the nicest people in the history of time.
Yeah.
So, like, I think like the league would actually be like, "What has happened? Like, what did y'all do to James to make him do this?"
Someone messed up here. Okay,
but like, let's just say that was Steven. I don't think that would have been, if it was just Steven, I don't think that would have been a full season suspension.
Okay.
I think, like I said, at the end of the day, it was easy. If you want to assign blame and actually investigate, it's going to be like why the JFK files are still classified. Like there's just stuff that was probably said and things that happened that no one needs to know about. And it was just easier to blame it on the lone gunman, Ron Artest.
Yeah, he was definitely he had a reputation, and so they were like, "Here we go." And now another one: are the suspensions as heavy-handed if y'all are the New York Knicks, Boston Celtics, Los Angeles Lakers?
If we're on a crappy Knicks team, or a crappy no. But if we had like I said, that team had. We had better than a coin flip chance of winning the championship that year. A team like that in LA, something like that happens. I would say very similar to old boy in Detroit that got split up by LeBron. The narrative came out like old boy was wrong, and I'm like, honestly, dude saw red, man, after a dirty shot by this guy, but that's not the narrative. So you know what I mean. So it's just like you see who it's easier to demonize, old boy in Detroit or LeBron. We're going to demonize old boy in Detroit.
Yep. Yeah, because I want people to remember the season before this happened, 61 wins for the Pacers.
Mm-hmm.
That was, just double checking, the best record in the league that season.
Yeah, that was the last pick of the first round. That's how I got there. Because they had the best, and that was like the benefit. You get picked later. That means that you're going to be on a playoff caliber team. You can win a championship, things like that. So I was looking at it as, I get to sit here, get a championship my rookie year. I could be on ESPN talking crap like Perkins is at this point.
Yeah,
my rookie year.
Exactly. So with that, instead you're here, man. I'm sorry. But you talking about that, it makes me think, how different would things have been for all of y'all if you had won a ring that year? Not just you, but you think of a guy like Reggie who didn't win a ring, or Jermaine, who I feel like we kind of forget about, even though, like I just said, a top 3 MVP candidate the year before. How does that look different if y'all win?
Jermaine. Like when you look at like the scale, I would say one, the tragedy of that being Reggie's last year, and like the quality of the team and the ability to win it. Having Reggie having a championship, I actually saw David Benner's funeral. David Benner was a media guy there. He was there forever. He's in the media. Passed away, and actually went down to there, and I saw Reggie. We were talking a bit about the Malice and stuff, and basically like you hear it in his voice when he talks about it. It's just disappointment, and like that was always hard for me to hear from Reggie, because he always would have that disappointment voice, like, "Come on, bro, you can't be doing that." I'm like, it was always hard to hear the disappointment voice, and like hearing it, like at that time I was 40 plus years old, like 40 years old. Dinner passed away a couple years ago. And just hearing that voice again, it like sparked like, oh crap, that disappointment voice. But then I would say Jermaine, he never got back up to where he was that year before. He went from a player to build around to a utility player at other places. I wish he would have got a championship because he was a hard worker. He was very dedicated to the game. And then, you have the beauty of like Ron's redemption arc. You have a player we were talking about that could have been MVP, and he gets turned into a utility player in the Lakers. And he goes out there, serves his role well. I still love his speech, thanking his therapist, and he's sitting there so happy. And Rick got his championship with the Mavericks. I'd say that was a masterpiece of coaching. The way Rick, used a I mean, that team was broke down old, and Rick is a masterpiece of coaching. You have players like Dirk. That's not that hard to win with guys like that. But at the same time, you look at that series, and there were moves Rick was making, decision personnels, even play calls at times. That Rick's goal was find the weakest person on the court and isolate them. That was everything in his mind. Where's the weakest person out here? We need to isolate them. And so like seeing stuff like that, it would have been awesome if we got to all win it there. But the thing is, after that moment, we'd never be allowed to. So, like, without that moment, are we that close of a group? We were. You saw how close we were. But, we're like there are teams that have been dismantled with this level of talent, and, you don't even remember the person that you were with. But this one, we're lockstep, hand in hand in history. I would say in 4K. That's not 4K. That's like 18 bits almost. It's like Nintendo.
Yeah, because you said it, y'all not only still managed to make the playoffs, but ended up in the Eastern Conference semis against Detroit.
No one talks about the bomb threat game either.
Yeah, so what was that like? You come back around and face the team that did kick all this off, with their fans at least.
We had no chance. There was no chance. So the game no one talks about. My gosh. So we're going up there, and I had knee surgery, so I'm out. So I go over early to get a workout in, and I go back to the hotel, and by the time I left, that's when the bomb threat got called in. And so I don't know anything that's going on. I get on the first bus like I'm supposed to, and by the time we get there, that's when we know that, hey, there's a guy who's said there's a bomb. They got dogs in there or whatever. And legitimately, we're like, guys, this is not safe on any level. And the game is delayed. The game is delayed. The game is delayed. Because we're not even going to go in the locker room. This guy's giving intimate details. He's sitting next to this person. And it's scary stuff. And so finally, I remember, I'm not even playing. I was like, listen, it was a vote. And I said, I don't know why I'm voting. I'm not playing. You know what I mean? So it's just whoever's playing, vote. And if you guys go, we'll go with you. And the players voted. They voted yes. So we were like, let's go get blown up. But, I mean, I think we got killed that game. We had no chance. It was 5-on-8, But think about that redemptive arc. They let Ron play in the playoffs. We get to the semis against them. That would have been the game of the century. That would have been huge television. But like I said, you give us Ron back, we might have won.
Yeah, because y'all lost that series in 6. And just kind of moving forward, the next season, what was the feeling like? We are hey, we can get this back and we can make another run? Or did you feel heading into that season you had kind of lost the magic? What was going through the locker room at that time?
So I still remember Reggie's last game, and he had 1 year left on the contract. And I remember I go up to him and I said, Reggie, I'm so sorry for being an asshole. Could you please come back next year? Because without him, there was no order. Jermaine he was young. He wasn't really, he was a vet, but not the vet. And I think if we would have got Reggie back, even just as a presence, if he contributed what he was doing that year, what he was averaging 15 a game or something like that.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
You say he's contributing 10 to 15. But just his presence out there, I think we could have been back at that championship. That next season, it was us kind of discovering our identity. Danny got there that year, great player. We had Sarunas. We had two players on that rookie year team because the year before I got magically late. Part of my punishment was you're not eligible for any of the All-Star awards. I'm like, how come you didn't say that back in November? Oh, because I got on the team. And now you say that. That's perfect. But like things like that. It was kind of this. It was the constant missing of Reggie, and then the Steven Jackson shooting. Those things. I mean, it was, and then beginning of that year, Ron comes out and says he needs some time off because he wants to launch a rap album. And that's when it was just like, literally, we're like, dude, like, we literally fought a battle for you last year. Like, come on, like, not again. And the front office just couldn't take it anymore. And that's when Paige showed up. Paige was one of the coolest teammates I ever had. But, I loved Ron. I loved playing with him. The time that I got to spend with him, it was special. I mean, he's a very intense individual. He taught me a lot about like just workout and grit. But yeah, Paige was a cool teammate though.
That's interesting to hear about Reggie as a veteran leader, because I feel like most of the Reggie narrative is based on, trash talker, clutch guy, but you don't really hear too much about Reggie the leader. Now we got Reggie the announcer, but you don't really hear that. So that's interesting to hear because, man, I don't know if I've ever thought about Reggie being Reggie the leader. He kind of just like the guy who, the annoying little brother like to Cheryl, where he's out there just trying to get you all riled up and then hit a big three, and he's all lanky and everything, and he's making the choke signs and going at it with Spike. But you don't think of him as, especially a team with someone like Ron or Steven Jackson, where, okay, these guys respect this dude enough we're going to hold it together enough to make this run.
You saw in the clip, the police respected Reggie enough to not spray.
Not Mace Ron, yeah.
This is the thing. Reggie was a general. Like a true form of a general. Like the most respected generals, you always hear them fighting on the front lines with people. So you have the leader, and you have him in other people's face. You have him, and then he's bringing that energy. If you don't bring that same energy he's doing, you're not playing as hard as him. You're not in the same boat. He was an instigator, but he would instigate his own team. You to play better.
Yeah.
But I mean, he was a general. I like a pure Julius Caesar type. Like legitimately, like fought on the front lines with his men. Like everybody loved Reggie. Even after my rookie year, like at the beginning of my rookie year, I hated him. All he ever called me was he called me fat ass. It was like basically it was a nickname for me. Hey, fat ass, what are you doing? Fat ass, come over here. But like throughout the year and actually being able to play with him and seeing why he wanted me to push myself to different, physical abilities and things like that, learning that and seeing that from him, I wish I had another year with him. Because like I said, that was up here, it just kept on going downhill. I could not get one season without something crazy going on.
That has to be wild looking back. You're like, damn, I got like 9 games of NBA
normal
calmness.
basketball.
Yep. And then it was just ridiculously from then on.
I started my rookie. I don't know why. I know why they drafted me, but you look at Larry drafted me because he's like, you remind me of me. Like I love the fight. Larry loved the fight. I love the fight. I didn't like fighting like that. That's not the fight.
Yeah,
it's not fighting with the fans. Like on the court, all that other stuff. Like that. That's where it was. But when you had the team like that, like at that size, like there was no reason for me to be there. There's 4 other 7-footers, but I started the first game of my rookie year. I started. I was at that. I remember it was against the Bulls, and I was ready to. Jermaine right before kickoff got hurt. Not kickoff. Tip off gets hurt, and I get the nod, and I'm just like, my first game. I went from they were like, don't even show up, we're going to trade you, until now I'm starting, which probably would have been better in the long run. Gosh, I could have avoided that with the trade.
Oh, man. What a crazy right up there. I guess that would have to be number one in terms of like NBA moments. But probably the Gobert has COVID thing would be next. But just right up there, one of those iconic things, because I remember even being here in South Carolina, and the next day was Clemson, Carolina. They got into this huge brawl, and it was like, well, of course they got into a fight. They had to watch all the footage of the Pacers jumping in the stands, when honestly, they probably would have fought anyways, because that is a heated rivalry. But it's just funny to see all these different things and all these different changes that take place after that in terms of the dress code and everything. And man, it's just a ridiculous moment. I cannot imagine 9 games in, and then this is what you have to do.
Oh, we even talked about it. That wasn't even the craziest moment. That wasn't even the scariest moment of my NBA career. That's the crazy thing. But that's most public. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And then my suspension. That's another most public moment. But like those two things. The Malice and the Palace, or it should be called the Cup, heard around the world. But
yes,
that doesn't make it look like we're doing something crazy if it's called that. But that cup, that liquid flies out, dissipates, doesn't hit Ron. I'm sitting there with the ring, maybe 2. You know what I mean? Because heading into that next year, if we win, Reggie's not going away. It's the Lakers were wanting to blow up. The Lakers just blew up, and honestly, what it did was it opened the door for Miami. Because at that time, people were still talking about the Celtics. They're still talking about like everybody else in the East, even the Pistons. Miami was under the radar, even with Shaq. Dwayne Wade. That's why he's a transformational player. Him and Shaq. That was a 1-2 punch nobody saw coming.
Yeah, man, crazy. Was there anything else we need to cover about the Malice at the Palace, or better known as the Cup heard round the world?
No, on YouTube there's a lot of funny videos. You get some, the Netflix doc. I'm thinking about making a bit more of a, let's call it honest narrative, I guess. About this. That would be fun. Because this was a center point for a lot of people. We were talking about like Scott Pollard. A lot of people are like, who's that? You know what I mean? Like, who's that? But like these players, they were well known, highly popular. Jonathan Bender, he was KG before KG, in my opinion. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like there's so many different players, and then you have that nexus, that one centralized event, and then everybody just thrown out in the stars in different directions. We went down some people's arcs. Being it's my story, I'm definitely going to talk about me because I'm the most popular person. But there's a lot in that 4 years there. And even playing in China,
Yeah, I think that definitely needs to be that story. The whole story needs to be told, because we've talked about it a million times. So many different guys on that team, and from a basketball perspective, really no holes on the roster. That's why we're talking about y'all should have won a ring that year. But then just the difference, was it like the butterfly effect or whatever, where it's like you got one thing happens and then it just shoots you off and you don't even know. You're like, man, like you're saying, if that man had been, I guess, practicing throwing full cups at home, I don't even know the
he was
accuracy.
practicing the water bottle challenge before it was even the water bottle challenge. Like there wasn't
ahead
even
of his
TikTok
time.
back then.
No, ahead of his time. And just seeing how all those stories kind of ended up, I think that definitely needs to be made. But no, man, this was awesome. As always, I always clear out and throw a post-entry pass, let you promote whatever you'd like to promote.
Oh, as always, my wonderful company. We are trying to solve the high-risk banking problem. Using digital assets and putting all that together has been wonderful and fun. But it's still just be nice to someone.
Yes.
Make it a point. You see this video, kids crying and things like that. You know, like the entire time throughout it, I sit around and I remember my actions, and at no point did I ever want a kid to be crying. You know, throughout all of it, you know, I wanted Jack to be safe. I wanted Ron to be safe. I wanted myself to be safe. I wanted Jermaine to be safe. But you know, you see, you know, sometimes you have to do things, and then the result is still bad. And like even at the end of it, you know, of all the things, that's the most hurtful thing for me to see, the kids, you know, because they didn't deserve that. But unfortunately, it's unavoidable. And that's the thing. Like you can't sit around and be like, oh, you can't just Michael Jordan them kids, you know what I mean? But
yeah.
But you know, at the same time, you know, throughout that whole thing, if I would have known that those kids had been crying, I would have just laid on the floor and just started trying to sing Kumbaya or something. You know what I mean? Like, you just can't. Things happen, and you have, you know, a split second to react. And like I said, it's better to be judged by 12 and carried by 6. And in situations like that, I mean, you can't. I'm not going to say this is a life or death situation. But you saw that chair fly in. You see, like people having knives in their pockets. You know, people like all of these things are. They're not high probability, but it's not low enough to like not look at. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Not worth risking it. No, completely agree. Because as we covered, there was a lot of funny stuff that happened. Looking back, like we're 20 years away from it now, you can look back and laugh. But yeah, the kid thing, that was rough. But you're right. Like, what do you do in that situation? And that's almost literally a once in a lifetime situation. You can't prepare for it, and you just have to react and try to make it out of there alive. And it is what it is. And even if the threat isn't as high as in reality as you thought, that doesn't mean you didn't feel like it wasn't life or death out there in that moment. So
fight or flight, you know, and I mean, it's non-0% chance is basically, I mean, that's a very easy way to say, like, I'm going to do something that's out of the norm and I want to make it sound different. But, you know, a non-0% chance of your life ending in a moment like that, like I said, you just react. And, you know, you saw our reaction. You saw, you know, they're covering up Ron. We're standing, like, over each other. We're throwing our bodies in front of people, coming over and fighting with each other. You know, we were attempting, like, we weren't fighting and going in the crowd and pointing people out and making plans. Like, we were fighting to get to that door.
Yep. Yeah, I think, like you're saying, you could see y'all were just trying to get back to the locker room. So just a crazy situation, but a really fun experience for me to sit down and kind of go through it with you, because I know how I saw it. I know just like seeing it on TV was crazy, but to hear your experience doing it, being a part of it and getting through it and everything that happened afterwards was fantastic. And yeah, go out, do something nice to someone, be nice to people. I agree with that message 100%. So yeah, this has been another episode of Beyond the Arc with Brandon Silvers. Appreciate y'all watching, listening, rating, subscribing, reviewing, and sharing. And I will catch y'all later.